And for further analysis, we are joined from Hong Kong by the economist Benny Wok. Welcome, sir, to Qnews.
Hello.
Sir, can you tell us why is the IMF warning Ethiopia and Kenya about their converting their Chinese loans from US dollars to yuan, and what specific currency risks are we talking about?
Hello, thank you for having me. I would say it is a very rare case for the debt countries to swap the currency from the major currencies, that is the US dollar, to another dollar that is not the euro, not Japanese yen, not the British pound, but the Chinese yuan, which is not really freely trade around the world, even though you are seeing the Chinese yuan is getting popular among the world for the global trade. So I would say the risk for the Ethiopia and Kenya is, one is because it is not freely trade, that is, it could limit the use for the Chinese yuan for both countries, and also whether the China would forcing other debt countries such as Sri Lanka and other developing countries owing much debt to China, whether the China is forcing those countries to swap their US dollar dominated debt in the Chinese debt. It is already it's quite popular among the West, that is, the China is using those debt, is forcing those countries to comply or bow to China for taking those assets into be the strategic assets for the China. So and of course what another risk is because of the Chinese yuan is not freely trade. So that means the risk from the US dollar, the Chinese yuan, that is the risk is shifting from the unpredictable US trade policies to the PBOC, that is the Chinese monetary policies, that is whether the economic cycle of China then is now linked to those developing countries, and there may be the economic cycle between the developed countries and China may not be in the same cycle, then it would be another risk.
Let me ask you, Mr. Kwok, do you think the potential savings from the yuan denominated debt outweigh the long-term risks of the exchange rate volatility?
In short term, in the middle and short term, I would say the China, the PBOC, that is Central Bank of China, it will still maintain a very relatively stable currency rate with the US dollar, because China doesn't want the Chinese yuan to be depreciate a lot. But I would say that is the risk to those debt countries, that is whether they are, of course, in the short term they could save the interest rate for the debt because the China offering some benefits for them. But the long-term risk to them, that is whether those countries have been preparing, already. I'm not sure whether they have prepared for their economies. Are they really prepared to be connected or linked to the cycle of the Chinese economy? Because if your debt is denominated in the Chinese yuan, that means the currency rate, currency risk will be linked to the Chinese yuan, and then it would be connected to the Chinese economy. And we all know that is the Chinese economy is getting declining or slow down quickly. And whether if what you're owning your Chinese yuan, that is you're having the Chinese yuan, and you can only buy the Chinese yuan given the limited asset, and those asset is very limited, and it may be depreciate because of the Chinese economy is still getting need some more time to improve. Then it would be another risk for those countries.
Mr. Kwok, also, how could these conversions affect each country's, whether Kenya or Ethiopia's, overall debt sustainability and the financial stability?
If they are really determined to, I would say, to strengthen the ties, the trade and economic ties with China,
Mhm.
and also if really China would wanted to strengthen its ties with Africa and the other developing world as well, and then of course, the risk would be less because both sides are determined to have more trades, more economic activities. That means they are more willing to having more businesses among them. Then, of course, I would say it is relatively more stable for them to use the Chinese yuan for the to do the trade activities instead of relying on the US dollar. But I would say that is it all depends on the status of the China's economy, and uh, and I think for many debt countries such as the Kenya, Sri Lanka, Ethiopia,
Yeah.
they doesn't have much choices. They have to choose between, I would say, the West and China, and because these kind of countries owe so much debt to China, and I would think they got really limited choices. So that's why when you see news, that is because they just want to relieve some of the pressure of the interest. So they choose
Um,
the China's offer to swap the U.S. dollar debt into the Chinese
yes.
yuan debt, and yeah.
Mr. Kwok, can you explain to us maybe the phenomena of why is Ethiopia's currency, the birr, more vulnerable to currency shocks rather than Kenya's shilling? And how might we can say the yuan exposure amplify those risks?
I would say that is amplifying. That is, I would say, okay, to those countries, of course, you have to look at what the industries that is, because these kind of countries, many of them do the exports with China, and they export many, for example, like raw materials to China. That is, I would say, the risk to them is for the risk for these two countries to the currency is they are really depends on the
Mhm.
status of the China's economy, and of course in the very technical term, that is whether the Chinese the movement of the Chinese yuan really, if the movement is very high, that is it appreciate or depreciate a lot, and of course it would affect those currencies for the Kenya, Ethiopia. Um, it is, I would say, now you're seeing many people are saying that is to try to just give up the US dollar to change to another currency because of the unpredictable US trade policies, and also the weaponization of the US dollar from the Washington.
Mm.
But from the perspective of China, I would say Beijing does not have such, I would say, such strength and power to try to weaponize the Chinese yuan.
Yeah.
Instead, the Beijing really want to encourage more and more countries to
Yes.
use the Chinese yuan so that they could, I can't say replace, but at least to challenge the dominating power of the US dollar. So I would say the PBOC, that is the Central Bank of China, would try to stabilize the currency as much as they can. So therefore, of
Yes.
course, first is to maintain the Chinese economy, and also it could be a benefit for those developing
Mm.
countries, and especially those debt countries that relies on the trade
Yeah.
activities with China. So
Thank. And
it would be good for them. Yes.
I'm actually running out of time, but thank you so much from Hong Kong. That was the economist, Mr. Benny Kwok. Thank you so much, sir, for your insights.